Yay!
Yay! Well, welcome to the Artful Leadership Interview Series.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so this is a place where we are connecting with artist leaders all around San Diego County who are impacting the lives of young people in powerful ways, and talking about who you are and how you got to be who you are, and
the path,
things you're excited about. And I know you've got some cool stuff going on, so I thought it'd be fun to chat with you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
All right. Well, my name is Courtney Corey. You know that. But for the folks out there in the worldwide interwebs, they may not. I do theater. I do theater all the time. I had an interesting journey, I think, as an artist. I started out when I was a kid being a dancer. Ballet was the main focus. And then we moved a whole bunch throughout my childhood. My dad was in the arts, so he would find a better arts organization and we would move along. So we traveled a lot, kind of like being an army brat, but I guess I'm an arts brat,
Yeah.
I did have a lot of classical music in my life because of him. So that was something else, that was kind of coming in at me. And I'd loved doing art as a kid. So we moved to Rochester, New York when I was in high school. And it was a very old school, traditional high school. They would do their, like a musical every year. I just was like, I want to try, and I was not a good singer and not a good actor at all, but I could dance. So they would always put the bottom of the list, like featured dancer, because they knew I really wanted something, but I didn't have the skill set for it. So I was the featured dancer in many musicals at Pittsford Sutherland High School, But then we moved in and we moved to San Diego my last year of high school. And I think for a lot of kids, that would be pretty rough. I was kind of fine with it because San Diego is beautiful and sunny and Rochester, New York is cold, and it's a beautiful area, but it also, you very much get the feeling you're in a bubble there, the area we lived in.
Yeah.
So I went to SCPA, which is the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. And these days they have like majors. So a student will have a major in high school at that school, but they didn't have that.
Right.
So I just was like, I want to do theater, and so they're like, okay, whatever, so there's no real plan. It was just like, here's a few classes.
Right.
And the teacher that I had, I think changed my trajectory completely. Her name was Priscilla Allen. And for people who have been around San Diego theater for decades, they would have very much known Priscilla Allen. Amazing, amazing educator, amazing actor, human being, like all of the things, she changed everything. And one of the big things that we did in class was she let us know that we could do all things in theater. So she would have us market a show or make a wig or sweep the floor or whatever it needed. It wasn't just acting. And I think that has a lot to do with what I do now. I did go to San Diego State and get a degree in theater, but it was very much a liberal arts degree. It's not a conservatory. So I did all the things there too, sets and, learned how to use power tools, which actually has come in very handy, even though I was terrified of all of it. And I also got to take classes way outside of my major that maybe seemed like they were just so on the periphery, but like cultural anthropology and classics and things like that, that really actually have a lot to do with theater and people and studying people. And so that I kind of have always, since high school have had this theater arts kind of training, not acting training from a younger age, where I think a lot of young people go into theater as actors. And I kind of came into theater, like, I'll do all of the things, sure, and so that's kind of what I do now, or all of the things, and and so I, in college and also after college, did a lot of equity work. Equity is our actors union for stage actors, and I moved to Japan randomly to work at Tokyo Disneyland and
Oh,
had
wow.
fun adventures, you know. But then after I finished school, I got on the national tour of Rent. And that was a show that spoke to me in my 90s self, you know. And I stayed with that show for years and years and years and did almost all the parts that existed in that show. Really fun. But that was the first time that I realized that theater could make a difference. I had done a lot of fun shows.
Mm-hmm.
Fun. I loved doing them, but I never felt like I was important or I had a message or a voice or impact. And we have lots of stories over the years with that show of you know, people. For instance, we were in I think it was Milwaukee, and our theater had flooded, and so we had to miss a matinee, which is a really big deal for a Broadway national tour. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of stress. It was not a good day. They were able to get the theater back to normal so we could do an evening show this one night. But we were tired and kind of cranky. And when we left the stage door, we were all kind of,
yeah.
A young girl came up to our group that was walking out the stage door, and she said, "Great show." And I think for a second we were like, "Thanks," you know, like we, you know, we're probably wasn't very kind, but we were just
like, whatever.
tired. Yeah. And we didn't spend much time with her, but she kept coming towards us and she said, "No, I need you to know, like, this was really important for me today." And then we started talking to her, and she said, "I've never been to see any theater in my life ever." And said, "This year or today marks the 1-year anniversary of me being sober." And she was probably only like 18 or 19 years old. I mean, she was very young. And she said she was very proud of that. And she and her best friend had gone through this program together. And it was collectively, it was their anniversary date for being sober off heroin addiction. And she said she had gone to her friend's house to like go get her to go do something to celebrate, and realized that her friend had relapsed. And so this girl didn't know what to do with herself and knew she was about to go to a really dark place, and instead picked up a newspaper and was like, "Maybe I'll go do something." And she was like looking for things to do and saw this random theater thing, bought a ticket, and realized that truly the story that was being told on stage that night was kind of her story.
Wow.
Easy. And she said, "This show saved me tonight." And that was the first time. I mean, I probably was like 23 or 24 years old. It hit me in a different way. And then all of a sudden we had experiences like that every town we went. So I think Priscilla Allen at SCPA and my time at San Diego State, and then that particular show, for some reason I was meant to do that particular show and not like the revival of Grease on Broadway or something like that. You know, that was, you know, which is fine. It's not my wheelhouse, but like I was meant to do that show and meant to have those experiences. And it taught me a lot. About the power of theater. Like, we can make people laugh, which is also very powerful, but we can also change people, and we can save people, and we can educate, you know. So it's it's gone from there. You know, I did Wicked for a billion years, and lots of shows at the Old Globe Theater and the La Jolla Playhouse here in San Diego. And then about 7 years ago, or 7.5 years ago, I started having this itch of like, I love what I'm doing. I was doing Wicked. It was awesome. But, I wasn't being asked to be creative, which is fine. That's not my job as an actor in that show. It's not for me to be creative. That would be kind of dangerous, I think, on stage, But I thought, but that's something I want to do. Like, I don't feel like I'm being creative again. And I started a book project that I have not finished. So maybe... And I started this project by like interviewing creative people, kind of a Studs Terkel style interview book, where I didn't really feel I had a voice or an opinion or I couldn't speak about that yet, but I wanted to hear other people speak about it. And then stupidly, I didn't realize that I would actually be inspired by these interviews that I did with people. Like, I don't know. I was just like, I was on this fact-finding mission, but I'm like, wait a second, I might learn something. And all of those interviews, I became inspired. So I haven't finished the book yet, but I think opening Theater Art School of San Diego, which is my theater studio, is part of that journey. So 7 years ago, I started a theater school. And here, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for taking us on your long journey.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so here you are now, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the school. Like,
so we are the school that will never do Annie. I love Annie, but we don't need any more Annies. We'll never do Seussical the musical. I love Seussical. I love Dr. Seuss, but there's so much of that already out there.
Right.
And I was seeing that trend. I was seeing, like, I would have private students, and I taught at San Diego State. And so I was doing a lot of teaching, but I didn't have a studio yet. I was seeing that everybody's resumes looked the same as far as young actors go. I was seeing that there was no importance put on acting. It was kind of like, can you sing really high and kick your face, and are you really pretty and popular and outgoing? And those were the kids in the shows. That's what youth theater was. And I was seeing a whole bunch of kids being neglected in the world of theater. Not everybody has to be in a musical. We don't need only musicals. We need plays.
Right.
We need contemporary plays, and we need classic plays, and we need all kinds of things, and we need films. You know, and I was definitely seeing that as arts educators, we were not providing that full array of opportunities for kids. I was certainly seeing that theater schools were very white. You know, youth theater programs very, very much not diverse.
Yeah.
And didn't have space for making accommodations for kids who needed accommodations for whatever, you know, like how we do things in theater. And if you can't do it, sorry,
Yeah.
you know, but what if the child can't read? Or what if the child, you know, deals with dyslexia and she feels like those words are like ants on a page crawling all over her script, you know, how do you get that child to feel supported in a classroom, a theater classroom? So I was seeing a lot of red flags, and I'm like, I want to fill those gaps. I want to do this type of work that's different, that's not being offered. I want these kids to write. I think that that's important. Not everybody's going to be an actor. We need playwrights. We need creative people, you know, on all parts, we need designers. So I wanted to offer those types of experiences, and really, I don't know how long, I spent weeks on our mission statement, you know, because that was not an easy task. And I wanted to be sure that we let the world know that we're dedicated to process, because I was seeing that with theater, it was all for kids, all about product. Everybody wants the quick, you know, to the lead in their school play or whatever that goal is. They didn't value process. And I want people to know that process is, as you know, that's the whole point, you know, it's what actually fills your soul. You know, you can only do the product so long before you feel kind of empty. And I wanted people to know that we have open minds and open hearts and are here to be inclusive and here to support a diverse community. So those are, I will say, that is a mission statement I am so proud of, but it is hard, which isn't that weird? It's really hard to sell that.
Yeah.
So it would have been very easy for me to say, we're going to do Little Mermaid and Seussical and Annie, and I'm never going to ask you to think critically. You know, I'm never going to challenge those muscles. We're just going to make you look really shiny. Gosh, that would be so ezy. But that's what we do. And it's not what I do. It's certainly not what I want kids to experience. So that's been our mission. But what's nice is after 7 years, I'm really starting to see through our partnerships with other arts organizations and artists in the community, I'm seeing how sticking by that mission statement, come hell or high water, is paying off, you know? So we're doing, as you know, we're doing a festival called the WOW Festival, which is put on by La Jolla Playhouse. And WOW stands for Without Walls. And the Without Walls Festival has taken place on the UCSD campus at La Jolla Playhouse for years. It's been town a couple times, and now it's coming to Liberty Station. So we're doing a piece called Pandora and the Jar of Hope for the WOW Festival, which is a really big deal because there are no youth theaters that are part of this festival. There will be some young actors that have been cast in various productions throughout the festival. But we will have a professional company of adult actors, but they will all be supported by work that our student actors and student theater artists do. So some of them will be doing artwork for the piece and working on the set. Some people will be building puppets. Some will be running sound, because we have kids that totally know how to run and things like that. So we'll be doing that type of stuff. That way our kids get an idea of what this experience is like. So that partnership has been amazing. Being able to come to Monarch has been amazing, and to work with that community, that's one of the highlights of everything I do. We just today, we work with a program called Liberty School, where we bring kids in to work with the different organizations in Liberty Station, which is our home. So we just had 2 theater classes for kids who've never had theater before, and La Jolla Playhouse, to go back to them, they're going to be developing a play at our space in January, which is their pop tour, which is an educational thing they do every year. Well, they're gonna be creating it at Theater Art School, which will be really fun. And they're partnering with the National Disability Theater to do that, which is an epic partnership. So the fact that that's happening, you know, in our space, that I'm like, okay, yes, this is why we do what we do. This is why we hold really strong to that mission statement, because it comes back to us in the right ways.
Yeah.
You know, with these great connections. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's super fun. You know?
Yeah. You've mentioned the mission statement so many times. I feel like I need you to just deliver it to us.
I should have it all pulled up. I know. Sorry. Hold on, worldwide interweb people. You can see how fast I actually get on my phone. Here it is. Where are we? Our mission. The mission of Theater Art School of San Diego is to teach the cornerstones of theatrical technique and training in a non-competitive environment in which the individual creative potential of each student is encouraged and equally balanced with his, her, their collaboration with the group. We provide a solid foundation in the theater arts where the focus is not only on the final product, but the process of artistic learning. And I've added one thing to that over the years. Theater Art School of San Diego does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, gender expression, age, national origin, disability, learning style, marital status, sexual orientation, or military status in any of its activities or operations. Theater Art School of San Diego is committed to providing an inclusive and welcoming environment for all students, their families, teaching artists, and audiences. We provide a safe and supportive environment in which the students can learn, explore, develop, and thrive. So it's a lot of words, but they're important. And I mean, they're all important things that we actually really have to put out there, because I see in the world, these things aren't important to some people and some organizations. And I'm like, it's important. We are strong because of that. Because of our diversity, we're stronger because of that. So that's been in a nutshell what we've been doing. We create plays every year for the kids so that they understand what it's like to develop a role from the ground floor up, because that's something that and it's not like we create plays that are ripoffs of like Pocahontas, the Disney version, but not really. You know, it's not that. Like original plays. And we'll do really different stuff. Like we'll do Animal Farm. Last year we did Animal Farm. I think our kids got the biggest kick out of that. They're like, oh, it's so edgy and relevant, you know. Awesome, you know. But it provoked conversation. Yeah. And that's really important, because I want these kids to think. And I think a lot of times we talk to kids like what they're doing right now is going to lead up to who they really will become. But they already are something. Do you know what I mean? They already have value. And they already, certainly in today's world and climate, they already have opinions and a voice. And it doesn't mean that we can't broaden their horizons a bit, but like, they have something to say now. I don't think we need to wait until they graduate from their bachelor's degree program to give them any sort of credit. Like I want to know what they think now.
Yeah.
And let's work with those ideas. Those are important things for us. Definitely, again, it's a hard sell, you know, to say that, hey, parents out there, these things are important, you know, or when they're like applying to colleges, that I'm like, you know, they may actually ask a question of your child in an interview.
Right.
Oh, they may ask them about the play that they're, you know, performing a monologue from, and they may ask their opinion, and that's why they're going to college, you know. So we need to be sure we're preparing them for that, not just to be fancy and talented.
Right. And cute, entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, developmentally, you're offering them things that are, like, research is showing that these are building blocks of healthy development for youth, and things that kids absolutely need, that kind of engagement and that experience of having those strengths and having a voice and having power to influence their life and to lead and to, you know, explore their strengths and make mistakes, and, you know, instead of just doing what they're told all the time.
And I think, you know, it's interesting because, like, our generation, we didn't have cell phones in high school. We certainly didn't have any sort of social media. We didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. Like, we, as a 15-year-old back in the day, I didn't have information.
Right.
Except for the 5 o'clock news or whatever. Like, so I don't recall having a lot of opinions or a lot of, I don't know, connections to anything outside my little bubble.
Right.
Right? Because I just didn't have access to information or anything like that. And these kids these days are so woke, for better or for worse. They are very aware. And I think that that's tricky for as parents, maybe, of those kids. Like, it's tricky to navigate that. Like, wow, this is different than it was.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. This is just a young person. It's not.
And a lot of these kids that do art and do performing arts, they may not go into that as a career, but whatever these building blocks are that we're giving them in the arts are going to help them in anything they do. Anything.
Yeah. In terms of leadership and initiative and creativity and collaboration and all those skills that are really needed in the real world in the future are there. Well, that's super exciting. A lot of the people that watch this little show are educators, are people in creative youth development, are, you know, teachers, are people who are really wanting to work with youth in more empowered ways. So I'm curious if you have any, like, little tips for people who want to, you know, work with kids in the arts, because it sounds like you're not just doing this very straightforward theater thing. There's so many different aspects of what you're doing that you're bringing to that. And so I'm just curious if you would have any, just off the top of your head, like, any advice or tips for people who want to really engage youth powerfully, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big broad stroke of it is just listen to them. You know, and that's hard. Being in a classroom where you've got a whole bunch of kids, because some of us, you know, we have sweet little classrooms where we have 10 students and it's easy, and sometimes we have 40 kids. You know, everybody's setup is different. And we know kids can have 1,000 questions and can talk sometimes just to hear themselves talk. Like, sometimes we have to corral just classroom management. Like, we have to kind of work on that. But providing a space where they feel they are heard, and with each type of classroom situation or each type of, like, arts studio experience, I think that we can be creative in how we provide that space. Just really listen. When we were doing, as we're working on this WOW Festival production in Pandora, one of the first things we did is we had a roundtable discussion of kids, preteens and teenage students. They didn't all know each other. So I wasn't sure how open they were going to feel, like, walking into a room. I don't think any of these kids have ever been in a roundtable discussion. Sounds very fancy, you know? And there were no parents there. I know we had a couple parents that wanted to come, and I'm like, let's do one with parents later. We'll talk to parents, but I want these kids to feel like they can actually talk, you know? And so Wendy Maples, who's the co-playwright with me on Pandora, we sat in a room of kids. There were 15 students. And boy, they opened up so fast when they knew that this was a safe, always knowing that it's a safe and nurturing space. I don't know how many times I say that, you know, I always have to let that be known. Safe and nurturing space where they're supported by everyone in the room, that they feel they can talk, and just, we could have talked for hours. We did about an hour and a half, I think. They were like, okay, well, you know, but boy, it was funny because the feedback I got from that, I didn't even expect to have feedback because truly we were just chatting, but people were emailing in, parents were emailing in saying, that was such an amazing experience. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. You know, just the fact that they were able to come in and just talk about this. With our show in Pandora and the Jar of Hope, the idea is that, you know, Pandora had opened the jar and all these problems were released into the world. So we want to know what the problems are from their perspective. What I think are problems may be different than what a 13-year-old focuses on. And 13-year-olds are all different. They all have different journeys too. So, but boy, they felt really good getting stuff off their chest, and also knowing that something's going to be done with those stories and put into a play where it's not like they have to put their name on it or their face on it. And that's kind of, because that can be kind of scary, but they know that their message is going to be put out there in the world. That, I think that made them feel really good. So I think however we can provide space to listen is the biggest thing. And then, you know, for me, certainly it's been a learning experience throughout the years, but learning how to deal with students that are of all different learning styles. That's a constant thing that I always learn, you know, and I never stop learning on how to teach, you know, different kids with different learning styles. That's really important. And it's hard sometimes in the arts, you know? So we have to, I think as educators, just have to continually be creative and keep learning and listening and being open so that we know we can get to every kid and not leave anybody behind, you know?
Super awesome. So if people want to come and support the show, what are the dates? Do we have times? Do we have all that stuff?
Oh, it's such a like cacophony of things, because all the productions in the WOW Festival are going to be relatively short. You know, I would anticipate most shows are going to be around a half hour.
Okay.
So what they can do is they can go to the La Jolla Playhouse's website, lajollaplayhouse.org, and there's a WOW Fest tab. And you can go ahead and look on there now and see all the different things. There are groups that are represented from all over the world, amazing groups from Australia, and then groups, you know, all over, and then also groups from here. Groups that are also resident artists of Liberty Station. That'll be very fun to see. The tickets will go on sale September 13th, but not all the tickets actually cost anything. You do have to reserve space, you know, reserve seat, or you don't all it, you know. So most of the performances are free. La Jolla Playhouse has made a big commitment to try to offer as much free stuff to the community as possible. I think the highest ticket price for anything is $20. So starting September 13th, you can go online and reserve your seats for all these different shows. It's quite a grid of what's going on day by day, but it's going to be October 17th through the 20th, which is a Thursday through Sunday, nonstop. Like Liberty Station will be filled with art all the time on that weekend, which will be very fun. And it's great because I've been here 7 years. In the building that I'm in, which is called Dance Place San Diego, or the Laub Dance Place building. This was the first building in Liberty Station that was renovated in 2006. And we came in 6 years later, and there has been so much change in Liberty Station at that time. And we have a solid arts district, but I think this is what's been missing, is something like this. I mean, of this. So we are, Liberty Station's ready for it now, you know, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to see I hope we get to see everything else that's being produced, because we're doing our shows, but I want to go see the other shows too.
Yeah.
Which will be very fun. So yeah, so I encourage everybody to come. A lot of the events are family friendly. Our event is also family friendly. We are recommending that it's ages 8 and up. Just because, you could get wiggle worms and it might be a little tricky for little babies. But there's going to be a lot of stuff outdoors. So if you have little tiny children, there's going to be very easy things to just kind of experience as you walk through Liberty Station. So yeah, so I'm really excited. There's a lot that's going to be done between now and then. I can't believe it, but it's going to be fun.
That's super exciting. I'm very excited for you guys, and I'm also so excited to see our kids get to participate in a meaningful way. And they were so engaged when you came down the other day, and
really
forward to that.
The folks out there, because we know what we're doing, but they we wanted to be sure that kids at Monarch School had an opportunity to be a part of this in ways they felt comfortable. So some of them are going to be creating art panels that will be part of a big art installation. And their panels are based around the themes of problems and then hope, because it's Pandora and the Jar of Hope. We also are going to do some writing with the students in a couple weeks, actually, where they're going to create monologues based on the theme of hope. And for anybody who wants to perform them, they will have the opportunity to come to Liberty Station and actually read their monologue. Cool. In a very small little venue, so they don't feel too nervous, but a pop-up, it's called the Oracle Theater pop-up tent. They're going to be able to go to that pop-up theater tent and read their monologues for an audience. And so there'll be different ways they can be a part, but we always try to tell them that there's a place for everybody in theater. We want them to know that theater can be a home for them if that's something interesting to them. So
yeah. Very exciting. Very exciting. So if folks out there are interested in partnering with you guys or knowing a little bit more about what you're doing with your theater arts school, where should they go?
How should they go? Easiest place is to go to our website. So it's theaterartssd.org. And of course we spell theater the fancy way. So it's THEATRE, and then arts, ARTS, and then SD as in San Diego.org, theaterartssd.org. That's got our website. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Insta. We're at Theater Arts SD, or Facebook is just Theater Art School of San Diego. So you can kind of find us different ways. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. And then right after we finish this WOW Festival, Wendy Maples, who's the co-playwright with me, she and I are going to head off to Cuba, actually, and go to a huge international theater festival there, and maybe start to build some bridges there, which will be very fun. So I'm excited.
That is super exciting.
So, yeah, I'm excited. Never a dull moment. Vacation will be next year sometime. So,
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for what you do. I think it's so important, and so glad to be partnering with you, and looking forward to I'm out of town most of the week of the WOW Fest, but I'm hoping I get back on time to see something.
We'll try to video as much as possible. And, our art installation should be up days before, and it'll probably take us a few days to take it down. So you'll be able to see their panels that they create.
Right.
Too. Yeah. I'm excited. It's very fun. So thank you for everything you do.
Well, you're so welcome. And for those of you that are watching out there, if you're interested in learning more about how to empower youth through the arts, get a hold of me. I'm a consultant and trainer, and I would love to support your work with kids. See you soon. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you so much. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.